So on we go then, with the commencement of our very, very first of our own game, Tales of the Infinite. Woohoo! Okay.
Sorry,
Ladies and
I'm doing a drum
gentlemen.
roll or something, right?
Yeah, we'll put it in
Sorry.
post.
Yeah, cool.
We'll get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you saw it here first.
We'll get it in post. So, yeah. What to say about this universe that we've moved into? What to say? We are in dark times, and we have a totalitarian regime of galactic epic proportions, thousands of planets, systems under the sway of this force that some don't even know exists. The people who live their life a daily drudge, and all they understand is now and again in their work they have to perform a task. They have to find something, put it onto a trolley or a lorry or a high-speed transport or a magnetic space elevator or whatever there is in their world, and it gets taken as a tithe. The annual event of tithes for this, the claimant of sovereignty, of force across the universe. And then it's just back to normal again. A day like no any other, aside from this having to fulfill some small quota, and everybody is involved. The universe is under the complete control of the Infinite and the mechanisms and hierarchy that has been set up. The idea of having such a unseen, unknown force is central to this universe. They are all. They rule with an iron fist. The Sunburners are their soldiers. Their huge ships, their planet workshops, their industry is massive. Yeah, how do they maintain the power? There's talk of them being able to see into the future. Psychics, using their abilities to push down minds of dissent and use their skill to find rebels and destroy, remove, otherwise take out those that would offer any form of resistance. The actual mechanisms of that, the actual sovereigns who control the star systems, that they don't have these powers. They are mortal and face the very real threats of protest, of mutiny, of violence, subdivisions growing up within the darkest recesses, subcultures that fight against them always, and for them, their force that they have to put forward is bloody and real. And this is a world that has wealth, extreme wealth, vast wealth, and also has vast and extreme poverty. We find ourselves on a world that is somewhere in the industrial belt. The industry of this planet works in such a way that the resources mined are fed into the workshops, the factories, and the planet that we're on is surrounded by giant rings, metallic rings that are almost cities in their own right, spanning sort of right around the globe. Some of these are there to stabilize the planet, to make sure that the seismic activities that they generate in stripping out all of the resources doesn't destabilize the planet. Some of them are there to cut vast chunks out of the planet and have them lifted out into higher orbit, where they can be shifted off to other parts and other factories. There are parts of the planet that are safe. They've been earmarked for living in. The employees that work and maintain the machines, the administration, the security forces, the provision of healthcare for the workers, such as is needed to keep them operating at an efficient level. But there's something happening. There's something happening. And some people are feeling it. Some worlds are feeling it more than others. There's a shift in the stars. There are rumours that some are being born with the power outside of the Infinite's control and are hidden from the Infinite's sight, and are actually using it to aid rebels in their fight against the repressors. But we don't know that yet. At least the very first murmurings of this, the very beginnings, where 3 individuals within the world are meeting. They're meeting to discuss what's been happening. Why are things not going the way that they think they should? Something's happened. Yeah, something has gone wrong enough that something could be happening. So we find ourselves on Terra Vega or Volantis. We find ourselves on the planet Volantis, which is the industrial world. And we find ourselves in the basement or some underground part of one of your houses. Whose house are we in? And who is your character?
Now, I might.
It might be yours, my Barrett.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking of retconning that a little bit.
We haven't even started. What's that a bit?
What Croy has just said. Thank you very much. I'm playing Dr. Kieran Zimmerman. He's a biochemical engineer for the Rogan Cormier Corporation. He's quite well up in the corporation. He's one of the lead scientists, or he was. He's got quite a swanky apartment. And his apartment is basically part way up, like the space elevator that reaches up from the surface of the planet and attaches to one of the rings. And it's used for ferrying mainly personnel, this particular space elevator. It's quite up market. He's done all right for himself. And so I imagine that our 3 characters are probably sat in the sitting room of Zimmerman's apartment. And we're kind of looking out. There's a massive window, and we're kind of looking out at the moment at the surface of the planet. We can see that kind of stretching out below us, this kind of massive, mostly metal, I guess now, kind of expanse of the planet. The sun is bright in the background, and it's just kind of it's almost about to dip below the horizon. And we're all sat in this apartment. The lights are kind of subdued. It's quite dark in there. It's basically being lit up by this image coming through the window. It's very well appointed. It's very spacious. And Yeah, Dr. Zimmerman, myself. I'm standing over by the window, staring out. I'm holding a glass of whiskey in my hand. And I turn and look at the other two people that are sitting here, and well, it's good of you to come. I didn't know if you would get my message.
Yeah, you took a lot of risks, but one of my contacts managed to live it through.
And you'll forgive me for being late, but I took a circuitous route to make sure that I wasn't followed.
Well, I appreciate that.
Oh, so that's where the other
I pour the other two guys a drink. It's very fine scotch. It appears. Oh, actually, can we introduce the other characters here so that?
I have Galen Malevich, who is a sort of Air Force's sort of like transport pilot. Mostly deals with ferrying stuff between the rings and the surface, carrying dignitaries and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of runs a side gig for some of the less fortunate and some of the more seedy parts of society. Try and help out those who can't help themselves. For a bit of coin.
Okay.
And I am Rofe Garua, a intern studying to become a doctor in the finishing stages of his education, finishing up his internship, which he is doing at the Volantis Teaching Hospital of Care and Education, or what's known as VThoC. And I've had some strange occurrences strange occurrences with what I believe used to be patients, which has led me to be quite concerned and to accept an invitation to the good doctor's home.
Oh. Well, Mr. Garua, you, it appears that we may have a shared experience. I saw your posting, obviously, on the intranet work.
It's quite strange. I was certain that Adam was just making fun of me, but how could he have known? It's the oddest thing. I was treating a patient who was suffering from delusions. At least I believed I was. I had these dreams of treating a patient that was suffering from delusions. The medications that the hospital were providing didn't seem to work. And it's the oddest thing. I don't remember this. I don't have it in my memory of actually having treated this patient. But I have these odd illusions of it. Adam, stop it. Adam keeps bringing me back to where I was treating this patient, trying to convince me that I did actually treat him. And
sorry, who is Adam?
I'm just gonna quietly lean over and take his scotch and move it somewhere else.
Adam is one of my fellow interns, and look at this, and I hand you a medical bracelet. I cannot find any record of this patient ever having been admitted to the VThoC. But here it is, plain as day. Somebody must be playing a joke on me.
Is this just one patient you have noticed this in?
I am new to the university. That's the only one I have a memory of. how could Adam even have known what the contents of my dreams were? It's so vague.
Why do you suppose it was a dream?
But there is no patient in the hospital, registered in the hospital with that name. I even asked my superiors. They scoffed at me. They laughed at me. They thought I might have been, self-medicating even. Heavens forbid, my parents would kill me if I were to do anything that would jeopardize my medical career.
My wife has been missing for the last 4 weeks. I've been to the police. I've been to her work. I've tried to speak to her friends. Nobody is interested.
Surely there must be a reason. Have you spoken to her parents? Is she...
I take a long drink of scotch. We had an argument. I came home from work after the argument and she was no longer here. Her belongings are still here, but she is not. I thought she'd probably gone and stayed with her friends. Her parents are off planet, so no, it's not them. She is not staying with them. But her friends, they were evasive. They said I had nothing to worry about. I waited outside their houses, but I have not seen my wife leave or enter the building.
I'd certainly be happy to check the hospital records to see if they have a record of her being admitted. Maybe
I appreciate that, but I
happen.
don't think you will find her. I did a little bit of research of my own. It appears that my wife and your patient are not the only people that have disappeared under mysterious circumstances.
Yeah, I think they've been taken off planet.
You said you knew, or you may have known something about this, Mr. Malavec.
I suspected. Well, ordinarily, as you know, we transport freight, materials, raw minerals, all that sort of thing, up to the rings. Recently, they've been refitting the transport for a different kind of cargo.
Cargo?
First, I thought it was, like suspension, like cryopods, that kind of thing. I originally thought maybe, they're transporting like livestock or other similar cargo. But now that we have these people missing, I'm wondering maybe they've been using it for people instead.
Cryogenic research is still in its infancy. I have been working on it myself. I was. Since all of this business with my wife, I've been discredited somewhat. I am on leave, shall we say.
You look out in the silence over the vast plains of the city. It's just a complete covering of building tops that you see. There are occasionally high towers that reach almost up to your elevation, and there are lights. There are movement. You don't hear any noise. The weather has been set to be reasonably clement, so there's no rain. There's a few clouds in the sky. It's nighttime. Yeah, you were moving shadowy through the individual streets and the corridors of the elevators and into the vast chambers and lift mechanisms that crisscross and being difficult and circuitous to try and avoid detection, keeping away from cameras as you saw them, keeping away from prying eyes that would look up from data pads as you were walking past them. Yeah, and not unusually as you're looking out and just seeing something, a flicker of light catches your eye. There's some sort of vehicle rising up from the streets below, and taking a trajectory somewhere towards one of your, one of the known landing pads, docking bays, part way up the elevator, the giant space elevator that you're currently in. And yeah, you continue your discussion.
What could they be doing at such an hour?
I gotta have a look at have a look and try and identify what kind of craft it is.
Yeah. So the first roll. In this game, we have 12 different skills. I would think perception might be a good one for. Well, you can see it.
Like pilot notes, just to see it's like a troop transport or a public transport.
Yeah, exactly. Go for it.
That is a 3. So that is
plus your 7.
8.
If your knowledge, 8. You look at it; it's a bit too far away for you to be able to get an eyeball on it, but it definitely appears to be something that would be big enough to carry either a courier or personnel. You're not sure.
Okay, not going through.
Mr. Malavek, if you say that these ships are being retrofitted with some form of cryogenic capsule, do you think you could perhaps allow us to get in and have a look around at one of them?
I can do what I can. So I suspect with this night flyer that wonder if perhaps we should make ourselves. Maybe we should go for a walk.
You think we're being spied upon?
I always like to be a bit cautious, especially with something like quite this close to our secret meeting point.
But surely you don't think that anything we're doing is out of place. We're simply looking for.
I mean, how loudly have you been asking?
I have admittedly made inquiries. I don't know about you, Mr. McGurrow, but...
Oh, just call me Rofe, please. Until I actually graduate and get my doctorate. Then you call me Dr. Rofe. Just like I have to address you as doctor. I can't imagine that doing anything that is at all nefarious. There's no reason why the government should be interested in our activities trying to find out what happened to missing people.
I mean, if they are related to this in the background, perhaps they prefer if people stopped asking questions. Make the process a bit smoother. They are taking people. We can get back to my ship. I can show you some of the technology they've been installing in our vessel. It won't be maybe as complicated or as because I've not been transferring anyone, but might be able to give you some idea.
Of course, I'm quite curious to see what this new technology is about. I mean, the advances in medicine have been significant, and to be able to cryogenically freeze a person in order to be able to transport them from place to place has huge implications for the medical industries.
It is just experimental, as I say. I was working at Rogan Cormier on this very type of system. I'm a cryogenic liquids application specialist. If I could have a look... Why, thank you. If I could have a look at what has been installed on your ship, perhaps I may be able to ascertain what it's meant to be transporting.
Okay.
You want to say something?
So, are you're getting ready to leave? I guess you stand up and you look out of this amazing view, and there can be no doubt that the transport, as you see it now, is a person transporter. But strangely, you recognise the size of it, you recognise the type of ship it is, but it has no markings on it. It's unmarked, and there's no talk of there's no company insignia or brand, or there's no designation from any of the security forces. It's just a grey hulk, but unmistakably ability to transport. The ship it flies out of your view and round to the other side of the tower, where you know that there's a dock. In fact, you know that's where you docked your ship when you flew in. You were able to get a berth there. So, yeah, you know the routes well enough. They're not flying on a sanctioned route. They're not a properly marked vehicle. It makes you immediately suspicious.
Well, we may have to take the scenic route back.
It's fine with me.
The other vessel is very suspicious. I do not think we want to meet whoever's on board.
Do you think it has something to do with the tithes?
I don't know.
Like that, unmarked.
But I know that because with no insignia, no call sign, no standard route, there must be some kind of special operation.
That wouldn't be a tithe ship.
I guess if they're coming right here just as we're meeting, I would suspect that somehow they've tracked us here. Or someone nearby. Either way, we should lay low and try and not slip past them.
Your ship is berthed here in the tower.
Yes, but further down. I believe that's where they've headed. Or at least they're using the same landing pad.
And we should perhaps take the elevator down to the ground level. Are there other ships that your company owns that we could take a look at instead?
Much about muchness. I think we could find something.
I mean, if we need to avoid that berth, then...
Yes. We'll have to find one. We'll try and we can get the transponder out and we can probably give them the slip. At least as long as we're not lingering around here, we'll probably be fine.
What's that, Adam? What? I'm going to look around. Do I see anybody following us or paying attention to us? I'm kind of getting a little bit of something on the back of my neck.
And we need to get out of here.
Picking up.
Imaginary friends and all.
Yeah, you lift your wrist up to the doorway and it opens, and you set the security on your door, on your data pad. As you walk out, you take that and just quickly bring it into view, and you key in the relevant codes. Do you take any extra precautions with your security, or how are you? How's Dr. Zimmerman feeling?
I don't think I I don't think I'm that paranoid yet. I kind of feel that I've been given the runaround a little bit, well, with my trying to find my wife, but I don't necessarily think I've not got to the stage yet where I'm thinking that somebody must be suspicious and come after us. Yeah, at least not yet. But I mean, if Galen is kind of suggesting that maybe starts to become a bit of a nagging.
Yeah, the thing is, it may just be here for someone else.
That's right. Yeah,
but
and we're all starting to get
sorry when we're meeting in secret.
Doctor, perhaps a biologic, and I pull a strand of hair out and I slip it in the door jamb as the door closes.
I imagine
you're right, Adam. I probably shouldn't leave proof that I was here at all, and I grab it quickly because it's DNA.
I thought Adam was an intern at the hospital.
He is. Yes, he is.
He's speaking to you now.
Internal voice.
We think very much alike. We're very
Funny
close.
that.
Sometimes I could feel him talking to me. It helps.
I look a little bit suspiciously at Galen, and whether or not I would think, is this guy psychic? I mean, we know that the Infinite apparently has telepathic powers, right? Is that because that's one of the things. Well, we suspect that that's the case. That's how they keep people under control. So
yeah, you know fine well that these powers exist, and you know fine well that it's part of your education. In the same way that part of your education is being taken up to the rings, is being taken to the mining extraction facilities. You know, you've all had visits during your earlier years to the process to see, of course, some of the positions of these rings have moved over the time. And some of the continents that were there are no longer there because they've been fully exploded and extracted. But yeah, you understand that you're told the line, this is all possible because of the infinite. This is part of the mantras that you're told, and maybe your parents, secretly behind closed doors said to you, yeah, don't worry about it, it's not real. That kind of, maybe they did. Maybe they tried to take away some of that and take the edge off it a bit. Or maybe your friends would tease you and say, oh, the infinite will get you. You're thinking, I can see you're thinking something bad. Don't think anything bad, the infinite will know. And so this whole, it's all part of this land. The wealth that's available and you've had access to, all of you growing up, has been you're relatively privileged because the bulk of the people on this planet don't have access to that kind of wealth that you guys have had.
Interesting. So I'm any kind of telepathic ability would be kind of would be viewed with suspicion, I guess. Or we know that certainly it would be stamped out if it was possessed by anybody other than the big band.
That was unregulated.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm immediately suspicious now of Dr. Garua.
No need to worry. Adam is 100% trustworthy.
Where is Adam?
I don't
now?
think he's psychic. I think he's just a bit nuts.
The apartment, I think, would be, it's in an affluent area. I think it will have pretty good security. But then again, the security forces around here probably have access to all of the apartments if they want to get into them. Fortunately, we haven't got to the stage yet where we think that they're in on it, necessarily. So, I will just kind of say to Rafe, I think the security is perfectly adequate. I think we'll be fine. I'd suggest we go this way. We need to avoid as many of the security cameras as possible, I suppose.
Yeah, surprisingly, there's as many security cameras here as there are in the university dorms.
For some reason. And I kind of lead them on a kind of fairly circuitous route again. To the problem is we're going to be spied on the elevator anyway, aren't we?
But do they have stairs? Like maintenance stairs or some sort between floors. We don't have to get all the way to the ground immediately, but we can just get to a different floor.
Yeah,
let them think. Actually, we could do that. We could just set the elevator to go and just let them think of taking the elevator.
This is sufficiently advanced tech, isn't it? I think there's like some kind of anti-gravity tube thing, which could be utilized maybe. Like a certain zero-G environment where we could actually go into a crawl space and head down if we wanted to. I don't think we should do that. I don't think we'd be getting that paranoid yet, maybe. I'm just going to lead them to the elevator. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything wrong.
100%. And all you have to do is come back yourself with a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Head up, and then go to your apartment.
Yeah.
Then leave the apartment, take the stairs down, exit through the side door, and all they'll do is have a video of us leaving and you coming back.
Well, the tube transport that you're in is not dissimilar to the old money transports that they used. You kind of get into a pod, and the pod itself transports, and it's glass.
Yeah.
You can see, and it is very, very fast. And there are certain allowances within the technology to mitigate the worst effect of that. It's comfortable, but it's still obvious that you're moving at speed, partly through the blurring of the outside of what you're looking at. You're dropping at an exceptional rate. And all the more reason as to why it's very strange that as you're dropping down, you feel deceleration before you hit the ground. You feel deceleration before you hit the ground, and as you're looking out, the lights on the outside of the building go off, and the pod just comes to a gradual halt. And you look outside, and slowly the lights outside on the buildings, they go out. And as you're looking from this position, you see ships similar to the ones that you've already seen, but lower, landing on 4 other buildings in front of you, but very, very shadowy. Galen, you definitely recognize them. You see the flight, just catching it. Even though it's dark, you see them landing. At the moment, you're suspended in this container, in this vast tube, all glass, and you're looking out over the sector of the city that you were in, just in darkness, but with ships landing.
Was that massive power failure? That's never happened before.
I think they're isolating in the block. But looking at how they're landing at the other towers, I don't think we're the only one. Well, I think they're after other people as well.
Who's after other people?
I'm not sure. But whoever they are, they have no insignia. So they work for the companies effectively without having to need to fly anyone's colors. They could just act freely, or they work for someone higher.
With the lights being out, maybe they work for the electrical department.
Probably we're that simple, eh?
Yeah.
Perhaps there's a way we could just take a photo of one on one of our communication devices.
I'd love it if they're landing out of the towers and then this little tiny flash just goes off. It's like, there they are!
In the darkness, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're like, they're over there! Anyway, out of the tube.
You
I
hold.
do wonder if this field is going to remain in perpetuity or if it's going to lose charge over time.
I mean,
In which case, we may
if the
want to
power
disembark.
completely fails, then this whole pod will be in 0G. We should be all right, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Make a roll such as maybe your tech roll or knowledge. If you want to have a look to see if there's something that you can do. You've never thought about it before. Every time you've gone into these things, they just work. It's just that's how it is.
I'd like to make a knowledge roll over technical. Unless you're doing it. Are you doing it, Luke?
I took roll the 12. I got 16.
That probably makes more sense, to be fair.
Yeah, excellent. And with that knowledge, because of the nature of the types of running that you've done, the more shadowy part of your business, you know that you can actually override some of the controls, and it requires a certain amount of just the right amount of force in just the right place. It's seamless, but yeah, if you take out one of the tools that you just happen to have in your possession, you can slide it down one of the panels that you can't see. When you see Elon do this, you don't even know what he's doing. He's just pulled out this really slip of metal out of one of his trouser pockets or whatever, and he's gone to it, and you just place it against the wall and slide it down, and the panel opens, and there's a keypad and controls in front of you. And yeah, you know the codes for this area. You always know the codes because you never know when you need to make a unscheduled stop. It's actually maybe it's one of the ways that you do business. You find a floor that's still being worked on. You go on, an unfinished floor, and that's the floor that you would need. So you key in the access code that you have, and it's good. It still works. The power within this units are self-powered, so although they've stopped, the main tube stopped, is still you've still got life support in the tube.
Modulate the reserve power to at least get us some movement, so we can get down to the next floor.
Yeah, and so you manage that, and that you reroute some of the power. You pull some of the light that appears that runs the wires. It's a sort of holographic system of power transference, and you pull your fingers and use the metal sheet to and it works. And you just slowly begin a small amount of falling, and it clunks the equivalent as the door shuts, and then you hear a part of the glass panel. It has one of the tubes extend out to it, and you've got a walkway into the floor below, which is dark.
Wait, is this not a general power failure then?
Doesn't look like it. I think I really think they're on some sort of operation. But at least now with the power out, it's like they've knocked the security systems offline as well. But if they're after us, they'll have a harder time following. If they're after someone else, then we don't have to worry.
I'm going to turn my head, but not towards you, and say, "Good idea," and I will then block the area facing out from the glass around where you opened the panel, to block whatever glow of light is coming from that panel from being seen from the outside.
Yeah. And you look at the walkway that's extended from the main part of the building and down into the dark corridor, and it is almost pitch black except the occasional dot of light down signifying where an accommodation suite is. There's a small glow on each one, so again, some sort of local power source is still evident. And you see a number of those down the corridor.
I'd imagine there is some kind of emergency warning system, right? Like if
yeah,
life support or something had failed, then we'd be notified like through a tannoy system or something like that. There's nothing like that happening right now, right?
Nothing like that. No, that's right. Yeah, it's a good point. You would expect that, but it hasn't happened.
Man, there's normally a warning telling people to stay in their homes when there's an emergency, but there's nothing like that here. What's going on?
I mean, so whoever they are, they've cut the main power and the backup.
Are there other people outside now also looking out and wondering what's happening, or is it just an hour that it's just deathly quiet?
Give a perception roll on that as you.
Yeah, I do wonder if you have the case that like if they've got like special like electronic or magnetic doors that
that'll be
maybe
shut.
maybe at this time of day, maybe some people are locked in.
Yeah,
and other people can't get back in.
Yeah, and if it was like a night cycle,
yeah,
then a lot of people may not even realize that anything's going on because there's no alarm or anything. So
yeah.
So it's a 14.
Okay. Quite a distance away, you can hear somebody shouting. You can hear a voice in the corridor, echoing down the corridor towards you, but it sounds like it's quite ways away, and you're not sure quite what they're saying. But you can also hear there's thumping. There's like a banging. Somebody's just trying to make a noise or do something, and you're not sure what. But yeah, you can hear that down the corridor.
Do you hear that?
Perhaps somebody is trapped there in the dark.
We should go render assistance. I mean,
is anybody there?
We're doctors. Well, you're a doctor. Not that kind of doctor. And I'm not a doctor, but that kind of not a doctor.
A liability? A mortician?
Does anybody respond? You
hear a voice shouting back to you. Is he locked out too?
Yeah, yes, we were in the elevator. It's the power has gone off. We managed to force our way out.
Are you all right?
Come down the corridor and you give me a hand here, will you?
Are you hurt?
No, it's my family are stuck inside. I can't get back to them.
I'm sure all will be settled shortly. There's no way the emergency systems will not have kicked in a few moments. You have nothing to worry about, sir.
Oh, wait a moment. And I take out my data pad thing, and I'm just going to flick the screen on, and so it generates a bit of light.
Yeah.
And kind of use that as a torch. Kind of make my way down the ramp.
You're far enough down so that the corridor isn't quite as nice as your one, but it's all right. You know, it has good floor coverings. It's all quite clean and it's all. It's not quite as wide as your corridor. It doesn't have the obvious automated floor movement system for when you just don't want to walk. You just get it to trigger and it just carries you along. It doesn't have that, but it's still okay. You've not gone down that far. And soon enough you see somebody standing against their wall, and they look a bit upset.
Hmm.
and a bit red in the face.
Doctor, there's a lot more doors on this floor than on the one you came from. These apartments must be much smaller. The distance between each dwelling's door is much closer than on your floor.
Yes. Don't get used to it. I'm sure yours is much, much smaller.
Yes, the dormitories is much. The doors here are spread much farther apart than in the dormitories. This is correct.
Yeah, the dormitories have vertical beds. There's a lack of space.
Yeah, they're hot racking in the dorm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the power will be back on shortly. Is there some kind of emergency, or are you just desperate to get back inside your house?
At this point, you've walked up, and you see a man. He's wearing almost like a jumpsuit. It's got the stripes of docking company on it. So perhaps a fellow pilot, and he's maybe come back from work, and he is looking, like he's in about his 30s, black hair, cut short around his head, and he just looks at you and says, My wife is unwell. She had taken ill. I was returning with medicine. I can't wait too long. She needs to get it. She has to be able to. It's important. I came straight back from work and stopped by. What? I thought it would be just 5 minutes, but what were they doing? Why is the power off? This has never happened. Why?
What's your name? What's your name, sir?
Alfred, sir. Alfred.
Alfred, no worries. I'm an intern at the THOC. Let me see what medication it is.
It's.
Well, let's see. Have a look. We might be able to have a look and see if we can find a manual release. Not sure there's much we can do, but we'll see. Give it a shot anyway.
Well, I'm going to see if I can give him some sort of consolation. Is there? Do I know the medication? Do I recognize it enough to know what his wife may be suffering from and what the real consequences are of not having that in a certain amount of time?
Yeah, cool. So you're an intern, not yet qualified, and yeah, give us a medical roll and go and let's see, because there's a chance. There's a chance you might not recognize it.
14.
Oh, there you go, another one.
Yeah.
So you see it immediately. It's some sort of anticoagulant, and you hope that there's some sort of other. You think there should be something else with that. There's two parts of this particular medicine. There's one which is applied as a patch, and there's another one which is like some sort of inhaler. But you only see one part of it.
Are you sure this is all that you were prescribed?
As soon as they called, I went straight away to get it. She had to have it quick. She had to. I went. I didn't even get changed when I was back from work. I just left, and then when I arrived back, just as I stepped onto the platform, the power went off.
Is there on the prescription? Does it mention the name of the physician that prescribed it?
Yeah, it would. The physician, Dr. Wise.
Right. I just want to take that information for later to understand, and maybe to consult with Dr. Wise why he would prescribe one part of a two-part medication.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, because if there's no other... I think you're correct. I think we must do everything we can to get in and see that your wife is is okay and doesn't need the medication right away.
Mr. Malavek, perhaps you could.
Yeah, have a look and see if I can get a manual release going. Nice, another 12.
Yay.
Much prefer
There you
big
go.
ones of dice to freaking VTTs. That's 16.
Wow.
Yeah, I managed to pop off the panel, and that, like, I can imagine it being one of those sort of airlock things where you have like a manual pump to kind of get some pressure to sort of like push it apart so you can actually get a grip.
Yeah.
So then,
and then you get into the controls, and the door opens.
Now I'm even more suspicious. Who is this person, Lloyd, who's rolling like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not a good look.
Yeah,
Adam,
pictures
or
or it
whatever
didn't
your name is.
happen.
I don't recognize this Lloyd.
No.
Yeah,
It's
so
only-
you're
it's
rolling
only
in the real world now.
The VTTs that don't like him, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you asked for it, I'm going to send you a photo of every single roll I make this evening and for the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Let's.
That'll keep
Reap
him
what you
busy.
sow.
That'll keep him busy. So there's a manual release on the door.
The door is open. I will rush in to go find the wife and see how.
Yeah.
And I'll look over at the husband and say, "What precipitated you calling the doctor? What event happened?"
They called us. Change of medication. We had to make sure that she was given a stronger dose. Her condition was starting to her blood pressure. Her blood pressure was going. The machine, the assistant, the house assistant, and you recognise those sorts of things as they take the bios and they present it on screen, and the artificial voice will talk to you and tell you about the fact that you're not in tip-top condition. Maybe you should consider eating some more fibre, that kind of thing. And so he points at it, and you look at it, you recognise it. It's a good model. It's trustworthy. It's got the latest version of medical knowledge there. It's the sort of thing that you do. Yeah. So, but he says I had to go. They wanted me to go down to the. They wanted me to go to the medical facility on 16 and 20th though. That's not our usual one. I had to go a bit further away. And at that point, he's shouting for his wife. Chloe, we got in. Chloe. And there's no answer. Oh shit! And he runs. He runs off down the corridor to.
Where are you going?
My wife's room. She's here. Then he opens the door.
Surprisingly close together, but they're surprisingly long apartments.
Yeah, they go far back. And he gets to the room, and he opens the door. And the wife, he shouts, "No! Where are you?" And you can see him rushing out of that door, and he goes to the next door, and he flicks it open and shouts for her, Chloe, and he goes down the next door. These doors are quite close together. He's not running that far, and he opens the next door, and the next door, it's like
she's not here, is she?
She's not here.
Wait. Was she? You say she was sick? Was she capable of going out by herself?
She would have contacted me first. She would have told me where she was going, or she would have left a message or something. She'd have told me, but
perhaps she wasn't feeling well and she just was rushed off or called for an ambulance. See if you could reach her on her phone.
That's a very good point. We know the power's off.
Yeah, so the power's off, and he picks out his data pad, and he looks at it, and he types in the name, and he's like, he types in, you can see him typing it again. So, what? And he types it in again.
He doesn't know his wife's own phone number.
What?
Like Zimmerman all over again.
What's wrong?
It's saying no.
No signal.
No. She's not there. Her name. It's not
No
in
number.
the directory.
That's most peculiar.
So I call up my
Maybe
data
the systems probably from the power failure are just not feeding the information to the data pads properly. Maybe we
Wait a
contact the
minute,
hospitals.
there's a power failure. Is there a communications blackout too? I check my data
They
pad.
don't have reserves. Imagine it's all down.
Yeah, so you're looking, and you can see each other, you can see your work contacts, you can see your colleagues. But this part of it is, and as you're doing that, the lights come on back in the apartment. And the robot, the house
Hanoi.
assistant.
Oh, okay.
House assistant perks up and he says, there's a voice, and welcome home. I see you have guests. Would you like me to arrange some meals to be delivered? This is just the usual kind of house assistant type, butlering, concierge type service. It can order you food. It can get you drinks. It can, get your ironing done. Just whatever you
This
ask
is
of it.
quite impressive. You have the latest Angie Model 2000.
And
That's the one without the voice unit.
and
The talkback unit, sorry.
yeah, and the unit flashes up, and one of the big screens shows this picture of the person with black curly hair and standing on a beach. It's the typical kind
Holiday
of
photos.
choose your holiday photos and
It's
get
a total recall, isn't it? That's where it
but,
is.
and it just kind of flicks to the next one, and then there's pictures, and as you're watching them, you're looking at it, and you see pictures of like a family together, and then it flicks on to the next one. There's some landscapes and there's some paintings, and then the voice says, "Your heart rate is elevated. Are you feeling okay?" And
So are we gathering this guy had children as well? In the photos?
yeah, you look at the photo, and it's him when he's younger, in siblings, probably, and yeah, he looks around, and he says, I don't know. He immediately he types in a number, and he asks to be connected through to the
Security services?
to the the security concierge, and he says, hello, I'm in room 65 on floor 293. I'd like to find out if there's been anybody from my apartment left in the past 2 hours. And his, you can hear that he's. I don't understand. It must have been. No, you must. Please look again.
Ask him about the power failure. Do they have any information about that?
Yeah, and he asks us, what about the power? Yeah, routine maintenance. They say they're preparing for a tectonic shift. They're having to move the location of this our part. But that's ridiculous. They said it was protected. They said that they weren't ever going to have to move it. That's not what we signed up for. But that's not important just now. Just listen. Where was she? When did she leave? She must have. And he gets exasperated, and he just drops the data pad back onto the sitting device, and he just looks at you and shakes his head. There's no record. I don't understand. She must have left. She must have. And then he calls up the machine.
Were you close with any of the neighbors? Perhaps she was just not feeling well and stepped out and was with one of the neighbors while the power went off. Sure, you have a photo of her. Surely we could look for her.
Yeah, and he goes, yeah, of course I do. Of course, look. And he picks it. He goes over to where all the images are and he starts swiping through. And he's like swiping through, and you see a picture of a dog, and you see a picture of a view of the planet, and you see a ship, and you're just like, what? And he's swiping through this.
They took the dog.
I don't understand. That our pictures that should be. It should be here. And he's like, you can see him just kind of swiping it and moving it. Wait here. And he goes, and he gets he goes to one of the desktops and he picks up a visor, like one of the AR type glasses. Replay footage.
I'm going to turn to you guys and look and say, you guys thought my sanity was questionable?
I mean, let's cut out the whataboutisms. It's still questionable.
Clearly, this person is suffering some sort of trauma.
No, this is all sounding very familiar, isn't it?
You tell me, Doc.
Doc, have you also had pictures missing of your wife?
I'm talking about your patient.
This person didn't go to the hospital. Clearly, there's no record of this person having existed even. I mean, how do we know this person had a wife at all?
Wait, where's the nearest kind of window that we can look out from? Because it was in the corridor, wasn't it? Where we went out and we could see those ships, couldn't we? On the top of the buildings.
Yeah, you were in the tube where you had that beautiful view across the whole of the city. But from here, you can look out. You can ask House to make the windows full visibility.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do that then, and I'm looking where these ships had landed on the buildings. Are they still there?
No, they've gone.
Coincidence?
Possible, but unlikely.
There must be a way to track those ships, some signature, some record, somewhere.
I mean, the whole point of unmarked stuff is that it's not traceable. So we might be able to. Well, now that the power's back on, we might, if we were able to hook into the security system, you can might be able to follow them around through.
Yeah.
Similar.
This guy's, you can hear him talking to his house, and he's reviewing, and he sits down, takes off the glasses that he has and puts them aside and says, I don't understand. I don't understand. I'm going to look for her. She's maybe just gone to the other, and he walked. Please just come on, get out. Thank you for your help, but I need to.
Yeah. Describe her to us so we might recognize her. And you said her name was Chloe.
Chloe, she's about 6'2". She has the auburn hair, long down to the bottom of her back. She usually wears old-fashioned clothes. Just straight cut black trousers with a red blouse or I don't know. She's not highly fashionable, but she has her own style. She's got a mole on her earlobe. She didn't want to get it removed. She said it was part of who she was.
Well, don't you worry. I'm sure she's absolutely fine.
Yeah, and we'll keep an eye out just in case.
And yeah, he does the same thing with his the door closes and you're out in the corridor again. And he runs off down the corridor towards one of the tubes that you know are at various points within the building. And yeah, you're standing there.
Clearly, something has happened. I saw clothing. I saw items that belonged to women and makeup and this could not have been staged by this person for any reason.
It would have happened. It happened recently, like in the last couple of hours. Doesn't quite match these like ships in the power cut, but it's still concerning.
You say those ships, they look like cargo ships, like transportation
transports, but unmarked.
Is it possible to take one of your ships out to log a trial run on some of the equipment?
It'd have to be logged with someone.
Well, aren't you able to do that?
Yes. Well, I have to get to my ship, which will be back where the other one landed. At least, hopefully they've moved on from here. We might be able to...
It'll be easier and quicker if we can look at the equipment on board your ship.
Yeah.
And let's go.
Yeah, so you variously make your way up a different part. You know the building well, and you find yourself walking out onto the landing platforms at the side of this vast space elevator. The open air is tempered by the element of a light force field which maintains a little bit of climate control within this vast space. It's voluminous. It's big enough to allow multiple ships to arrive, to land, to undock. Usually, when the ships do come here, it's transferring people for accommodation. It's bringing workforces back from the various places that they've been at for that time. But occasionally there's building supplies, and when somebody orders refurbishments, there's things that get brought in, resources and such. So it's a pretty sizable part. It's busy enough, and even there you see ships coming in, smaller taxi-like ships, landing for individuals and smaller groups of people, and people getting out and walking down the corridor, and then and then your ship is parked. What does your ship look like?
I think it's probably more functional and like style, so probably more of like a sort of, I guess like a bit of more of a curved box, where it's got like the bulk of it is like it's gonna be like the hold, and then like a small cockpit, and then like rest area or like personal quarters. Because I kind of imagine like the pilot's life is basically they just live in.
Like long haul.
Basically, it's a bit like taxis, I guess. Well, like your ship is your investment, but like it's also that's where you live and that's where you work.
Mandalorian.
He's a space trucker.
Yeah, and with like gravitic field like generators is like the way of flying around rather than like your typical like rocket engines.
Yeah.
So to say, like anything like very bulky like jets or whatever down the side.
Yeah.
They're probably like the hovercraft and Matrix might be a better like approximate.
Yeah.
Kind of like profile.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, your ship's there, and it recognizes you on approach. And it begins to whir. Lights come on. And it's awaiting your usual voice command to bring down the cargo hatch so you can get on.
Yeah. Open sesame.
And voice ident.
That's what happens when no one reads the classics anymore. They make perfect passwords.
And yeah, the door comes down on the side. The door opens. The stairs come down, and yeah, you're on your ship. Your access to your ship.
The equipment, it's in the cargo hold, yes?
Yes. I'm going to do a sweep of the ship, just to make sure no one has been tampering with it. Go have a look.
And I'll go straight into the cargo hold then, and I'm going to have a look at this new equipment and try and ascertain what exactly it is.
Yeah. Okay, so you get into the ship. Describe the inside is functional. I guess there's boxes clamped on the side to stop them moving. There's cargo pods. Is there separate rooms in it? Is there different areas? Is
Yes, like the hold itself, I think is just like a long sort of rectangular room. Sort of a bit of like an arc over each side, so you have that kind of shape, and then like so you have then it would have like your cargo would sort of go down along points along each side, and then beyond that would be like the crew living, like the living quarters, like cockpit
sort
of area,
like a big cargo ramp thing at the back maybe.
Yeah, so here you'd have like like along each wall would be some of these like initial like units that they've been trying to install.
Can you cross-reference to see if there are any lanes that have recently been closed to public traffic? If any routes are now no-fly zones?
I can do. I just want to finish. I need to finish checking my ship first to make sure that no one was messing with it while they were doing whatever they're doing. And 14 on technical, or do you want something else? Or?
You have the option here to take Hagen's suggestion that there is a there is a notification on your system from an official system-generated penalty. The equivalent of a parking ticket, but in modern terms. But for some reason, it doesn't have your name on it. It doesn't have your details on it. It's a different ship. It's something's gone wrong. So, if you take this. If you take this...
I'm trying to decide whether this is a good or a bad thing.
I know, it's kind of a double one.
I don't know how I'm
going to refund that just now. I'm going to refund that. Just because it's a kind of double-edged one.
Yeah, I was thinking like if I'd been able to get more of an ID on the like other vessel, like an ID or something, then I would have been tempted to be like, oh, I could use it to basically give them the ticket, and that way it then creates a paper trail for this unmarked vehicle.
Yes.
But I just don't have that first step, unfortunately, in this.
Yeah, so you rolled... What did you roll, sorry?
I was 14.
You rolled 14s. So you're looking through your system and you're trying to get an idea from your own in-ship systems about what it was that landed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's easy. Your systems
proximity sensor
have a set. Your ship's got a little bit of extra just because of your nefarious operations. And one of the things it does is it like a Tesla, it has proximity that fires up security systems that can look around 360. And that's what happens. And as you're reviewing this, you pick up your AR glasses and you put them on. You look outside, or in fact, you go out to the cockpit and you look at the cockpit, and the HUD shows in volumetric space outside your ship what happened. So you're watching a replay, which you can fast forward and rewind from your ship, and you see these. You see people in grey suits with helmets, grey helmets, kind of shaped with a visor with a light that comes all the way down, like a two LEDs that come all the way down, and dark faceplate in front, and they've got small. They've got small pads, transport pads, the likes that they use to move small items. And on each of them, there's a tube. And they're moving quickly. They come out from the building. The tubes are hovering, they're pushing them. And then you look round and you see the ship there, as far as the field is. But it begins to flicker as you're watching it, and you see they go to the side. The side opens up of the ship, but as it does that, it flickers, and you're losing the visual. So what you see is these people pushing these hovering discs with the big tubes on them into the ship, and then it's almost like they disappear when they go into the ship.
That's weird.
But there's a stream. There's about 8, 9, 10 of these in just a very short period.
We have no idea their contents. I was wondering if I might be able to get enough info on the ship to basically because if I allocate them the ticket, just use Dave suggested to kind of keep it going.
Okay.
Because that's the thing is if you can get enough metadata from the ship to basically attach a ticket to it, it's never going to get I don't expect it ever going to result in anything, but at least for the near future, what I'm thinking is if they go anywhere, it might at least get pinged somewhere, so you have a bit more of a trail of where they're going.
Yeah, so you
a number plate recognition kind of thing where you know where they are, but you don't know what.
So you interface with the dock side computer and you file a claim against the ship, like it dinged me kind of thing. And when you do that, the equivalent of the dock master, the digital interface that you have, flashes a red warning color and says restricted. Do you wish to continue? It asks you.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, it's just that kind of thing of like, I wasn't quite what I was imagining was going to happen there.
Yeah.
The problem is if you push forward on it, it's just gonna make us a big target. So like, it's not worth it. I don't think. I was kind of imagining of just repurposing that parking ticket I was supposed to be charged with their details.
What?
Yeah. Rather than me trying to make a claim on them.
Yeah.
Just claim that you saw a ship knock another ship.
Because that way, it's the parking attendant who has to be like, "Oh, you try to flag the restricted vessel."
So yeah, you push this this claim through, and you don't know if how far it's gone. You don't certainly pursue it, and you get a notification back from the building, from the super that's there on the building, and the comms flicker up on the ship. He's trying to contact you.
Alright, I'll answer on my personal device rather than on my ship.
Yeah. And you recognize him. It's one of the building supers. He's like, Malvik, what are you pushing? What are you doing?
I'm not doing anything.
You just got flagged on the system. You've made a claim against a ship that doesn't exist. Are you trying to pull a fast one?
Hardly. Anyway, so I pull a fast one, I do something a bit less obvious, don't you think?
Hey, well, it's not like you... Listen, that deal that we did, still good. Don't worry, got your back. But... yeah,
So that was an unmarked ship on this pad.
Listen, if there was an unmarked ship on the pad, then that's probably a good enough reason not to be pushing the buttons. Just keep your nose clean, pal. Just keep supplying, keep giving me the good stuff, and make sure that you don't get caught. All right? We need you, man. We need you. Don't do anything stupid. Don't be chasing grey rabbits and then the comms cuts off.
Oh well, I wasn't really trying to, but let's go see what the good doctors had any luck in the cargo hold.
I'm examining the new equipment that has been placed. I'm trying to figure out. Well, I wanted to see if I can figure out what it's been used for. Well, that's the main use, right? That's the thing. That's the main purpose here.
What does it look like, Lloyd? What does the new gear? How does it take form in the ship? What was added?
I'm trying to think that it's not been a complete installation bit. But, maybe I don't know, the tubes or whatever that they were wheeling around. Those parts haven't been brought in, but they've built the assemblies that would like the tanks and the pipe and the tubing that basically that sort of stuff would slot into. like the framework to take whatever
Actually, so
the
that's
part
a
is,
good
rather
point.
than the whole thing itself.
Would, having seen that equipment in the cargo hold, and then having seen those tubes on the video, would Galen know, or would he have been able to kind of figure out? Wait a minute, that looks like it attaches. Would it be that obvious?
I reckon that you would know what they were. This is your area of expertise.
Well, I'm thinking about Lloyd's character. I haven't seen the video. My character hasn't seen the video. But
you were at the back. Yeah.
Lloyd's seen the video,
okay.
but he's seen the equipment in back. Would he be able to make that
Like connection that they fit together,
Yeah.
or they do or do not. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it looks similar. It looks like the kind of things that would be, you could imagine that almost like a battery fitting into a compartment.
So I'm in the back examining this equipment. In terms of how I'm saying, because this is a technical thing, but because Dr. Zimmerman has been working on stuff like this before, I'm making the argument to use knowledge instead of tech for this to try and identify this.
You could make an argument to not make a roll on this, I reckon, because you've practically invented this stuff, right?
Well, it's more to do with the chemical side of things, the fluids and things like that. So I may have seen the equipment, but I may not have actually used it.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
All right.
I'm figuring that this is a fairly big project that would have involved several different departments working
okay. So
independently of each other.
Right.
And Zimmerman's quite high up in the corporation. He may have had a little bit more freedom to kind of wander around between the projects.
Yeah.
Than most other staff potentially, or a lot of other staff, and so therefore he may have seen this kind of equipment, but not actually used it or worked on it.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. So you're gonna make a roll.
Oh, 15. It's an 8 plus a 7.
Yeah. It sounds like you probably signed off on the blueprints. You recognize this as being highly relevant to the technology. You recognize the flow sensors. You recognize the fairly unique connection that was required to mix the chemicals before it went into the tubes. That kind of thing.
Yeah. And so when Raphael and Galen kind of come into the cargo hold, I'm kind of looking very serious, very stern-faced. This equipment was made by Rogan Cormier. This is my company. We built this. And you're probably right about it carrying people.
Makes me wonder if they're running off with this whole operation with like untested technology, or whether someone else has like dropped the gun.
Why are they taking people? What purpose would that serve?
Don't know.
We should
probably nothing good.
Well, I could speak to Evanson. Evanson, he's the director at the lab. Maybe he knows something.
Maybe we should check that he shows up on the communications device in case he's also gone missing.
Well, he's the director of the lab. He can't just go missing. I I kind of think that's impossible, and I go and check the datapad. As I'm starting to kind of wonder if I'm losing my grip on reality.
First your wife, now your boss.
It turns out, whatever's Rafi's got, it's contagious.
Wouldn't be the first time an employee's wife went off with the employee's boss, right?
Yeah.
And the names, the names are there. The names are there.
Now he won't be in the office right now, but we can make our way over there in the morning, perhaps, see if we can speak with him.
Well,
or I could go alone then.
Well, if it's going to be in the morning, we have to spend the night. I don't know where else we...
Are we not concerned that the longer we wait, the colder the trail will have fallen on these ships that we just noticed tonight?
Is there any way to track them?
We just witnessed an event. There's a correlation, we believe. These tubes were rather large that were being pushed, and people are missing.
Is there anywhere else we can find out if anybody else is missing a family member or friend in this building? Any way that we can ascertain that?
Might we think about taking off for a flight now and just seeing if we get kind of steered away from certain places, meaning, off limits now, maybe be able to triangulate where these ships might have gone based on where we're not allowed to go?
Space is really big.
Big.
I wouldn't know. They never taught us that in medical school.
Really
Out
big.
the window.
Excellent.
I mean, they're more likely to have restricted routes and stuff around important stuff. Just out.
Yeah.
All right.
Do pilots know where they can and can't fly? Do they know where are off limits, or do they go everywhere and anywhere whenever they please?
I think generally you probably go wherever, because you're expected to. Yeah, you're the main people ferrying stuff back and forth, so you're expected to always be doing something. I'd imagine, if you did try to pass through restricted space, that you would find out when you tried to make a route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad call then. What about what about I don't know, your autopilot or something, or something like that might be able to see if if anything's different, if anything's changed, maybe.
Yeah, I can run it through. Pilot check, I guess.
Yeah.
7 plus 7. 14.
Right. Oh, 14.
Nice.
Lloyd's never using digital dice again.
Never. You guys in your roll 20.
You do know he's rolling a D100 right now.
Oh yeah, you reminded me. 1 second.
So you key in a few of your past routes and your last routes, and surprisingly, you know that a couple of couple of the buildings, a couple of the routes that you take fairly regularly to ferry, on occasion, like medical supplies. You know that you're being directed to alternate places. You're being directed to different facilities from the one that you typed in.
Yeah. Is it like it wants me to go somewhere, or is that just like a regular rereading?
I mean, these are places you've been to before, and you know them.
All right.
And one of them, one of them's a medical facility. And it would seem like it's that's odd. You know, you've done that route a few times. That's unusual, and you keep typing in, and you're just like, well, maybe I can get around that way, and it just keeps shifting you. And it says, basically, it's like deliveries being received by Quadrant 9, Facility 63, rather than Quadrant 4 that you're trying to get to. That kind of thing, and you're like, wait a minute, that's what's.
We've had a redemption of meanwhile.
Exactly.
which is going to throw you, because I think Infinity put this one in, but
It's a double redemption.
I think it might be quite cool.
Oh right, yeah. Meanwhile, is some sort of flashback for or a piece of lore or trivia, isn't it? From somewhere else. Let me just remind me of the wording of that. Red. Thanks, Red. Let me just quickly check the wording of that so I get it. I get that right. Meanwhile, a brief tangent about something going on in a different part of the world may or may not be relevant to the story. Okay. Okay. So, meanwhile, high up on one of the orbital rings of our planet, there's a group of scientists standing around a control panel, and one of them has put their finger into a holographic grid of the planet, and he looks around at the others, and he says, I hate doing this. I absolutely hate doing this. Why is it my turn? He's like, and the other ones are just like, get on with it, come on. And he puts his hand in, and you see his face grimace, and his face just kind of pulls back. He's like, it's working. It's working. I can. And you hear all the other scientists standing around are beginning to have a big grin on their face, and they're laughing. And he pulls his hand out, and he pulls his hand out, and he opens his eye, and he doesn't open his eyes. He holds his hand up and says, "Is it bad?" And the other guys are all in absolute hysterics at this point. And you see it through his eyes. You open up his eyes, and his hand is being held up. And he's developed another finger, so he's got six fingers, but also his hand has turned a kind of bluey green teal color, and he just looks at them and goes, "You're all bastards! I fucking hate you. Why you just? I'm telling you, it's you're next. You're next.
Yeah.
You're next."
Breeding on tap. What the future needs.
Yeah. So yeah, and then the scene cuts back to the transport ship, and the characters.
You've done it now. We are going to see another half a dozen meanwhiles before the end of this stream.
Yeah. I've got like phantom pinky syndrome.
So,
it is odd that you can't now deliver medical supplies to a medical facility for some strange reason. Maybe we have a way to kind of get there
Maybe
and
it's
see.
the same kind of supplies that the guy couldn't get for his wife.
Oh,
Maybe it's a type of medical supplies that no one's allowed to deal with. So it's all being claimed for some reason.
So does that medical facility correspond with the area where the guy was sent to pick up?
Well, because he was asked to get 2 types of medicine, so they only gave him the one type. I wonder if the other type is... Maybe that's all being requisitioned by somebody. Which is why he couldn't get it.
Yeah.
Wait. What is the other type of medicine?
One was the anticoagulant. The other one was the patch.
Yeah, one of them.
The patch and the inhaler.
The inhaler. The inhaler is I guess it helps to calm breathing. It helps to slow down the metabolic, the heart rate and the generally the lower.
So when I'm given this chemical name,
Streptozine.
Yeah, there you go. Streptozine. Nice one, mate. Lloyd's good for the old technobabble.
My only true skill in life is naming things.
Is that something that we've been experimenting with at the lab?
It's the precursor to the process of slowing somebody down, slowing bodies down sufficiently so that they don't reject that process. It's part of the method of tissue control, which allows it takes then the process of the freezing to effectively. But you've only seen it, I guess, you said it was like a trial, so you've maybe only seen it on tissue cultures and in hoods and machines and tests. You've never actually put it onto a full body, but yeah.
This has to be connected. Streptozine, it's used. We were experimenting with it as part of the cryogenic process.
And maybe if we can find out where it's all going, it'll give us a lead to where everyone else is going.
And I call up my data pad and I push the button on Evanson's name and I leave a message. Evanson, I need to speak to you first thing tomorrow morning. I'll be at your office at 9 a.m. And I hang up.
If I was a paranoid person, which I'm not, I would almost say that people that need this medicine might be being taken away in order to hide the fact that there is no medicine to give them. Maybe to calm the population.
Need the medicine?
Or is it just that there's a shortage of medicine because more people are being put in cryogenic freeze? For some reason.
I love it if it turns out like the doctor's wife has been taking this medicine for like years and he never paid attention enough to realize.
I mean, there was a lot of medicine in the cabinet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the calm down pills.
Yeah, I wasn't interested in what she was taking.
What's next then? Are we gonna fade to black?
So you had to spend the night. Yeah.
Yes, they come meet up again in the morning.
Yeah.
This would be the only safe place, I think. Everyone have to get comfy.
Just on our way back, like to try to again make sure that it doesn't appear that anything is out of the ordinary as we head back to our respective places. nobody's watching us yet. Nobody's following us.
Yeah.
I think it might be easier if we all crash in the ship and then. Yeah, if anyone tries to do anything or comes too close, we can just bug out.
I mean, the security systems in my apartment are more than adequate, I'm sure. And that's where I'll be going. It's up to anybody else what they want to do. But
Yeah, well, I'm already here.
you're in your apartment.
Yeah, you're...
The door's over there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm gonna head back to the dorm. I want to see if Adam's around and just see how he's doing.
That's cool. So we'd have no idea
So
if
you'll-
it's a voice in your head or whether you have a
he'll
psychic
wonder.
friend.
He'll wonder what happened to me if I don't go back to the dorms.
Well, I hope you see him more than you normally do.
So yeah, you basically you get back. Does anything happen at your respective places, or are we going to cut straight to the rendezvous in the morning?
I don't expect there'll be too much going on. I wouldn't have thought.
I'm too curious to see what happens at the rendezvous tomorrow to create more content because I'm just really curious to see what's going to happen. So.
All right then. So we fade to black. The camera shows the sunrise peeling and reflecting off the metal in the horizon, which is one of the stabilizing rings lower to the surface. And these are used to make sure that the whole planet doesn't rip itself apart. The sun glints off that as it rises up over the horizon. The camera pulls right back out, and then you can see just the nature of the rings, how extensive they are. The full planet. There's 6 of these rings, and they're not moving. They're static. But there's 2 sets of 3. One north to the north and south poles, and one sort of more or less around the equator. And for the rest of the planet, you see basically just there's no clouds. And the clouds where there are, there's a section of the planet where all the clouds seem to be focused and just dark, look like rain clouds, but the rest of the planet is just totally clear, and you can see a huge crater from this space, from this shot. This absolutely vast ring around the planet that is hundreds of miles deep, and the extraction. And the sea kind of backing up against a particular dams, something to hold back the water from this. The camera just pulls back, and as the camera continues to pull back through the galaxy, you see the different planets, you see the sun, and then the sun just gets blacked out as this giant ship shape moves across and silhouettes first its nose, and then this vast, absolute massive shape just continues to then block out the sun, and the meniscus kind of appears around the edge of the ship as it passes over the sun. And you get the sense of this vast ship just moving slowly into the galaxy, and then you're back on the planet, and standing in front of a building of some description, or in a building, or off a transport. How do you normally get to your work?
I think that'd normally take the elevator up to one of the rings. I think the labs are probably kept up there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have like maybe it's like a 30-minute journey in a large kind of elevator that it's probably got a few other people in it. They're all making their way to work. And they're all wearing the Rogan Cormier Corporation logos on their suits or whatever.
Yeah, with your garden leave, are you that guy?
I am that guy, and there are probably some weird looks over at Zimmerman as because obviously it's been a few weeks since he's been there, and you know the rumors have started, and nobody's actually going to ask him directly, but he just get these odd looks, and maybe a few people nudging each other and nodding in his direction and stuff, but and as we kind of the elevator reaches the ring, probably one of the further rings out from around the planet, and it kind of opens up into this kind of massive space, which is like a huge kind of walkway that kind of runs down the center of the ring. It kind of a myriad of catwalks and there's probably like a huge kind of glass central bit in the floor that runs all the way around the inside of the ring, so you get this view of the planet. It's all very aesthetic. It's been made to look it's very corporate, but quite easy on the eye. Lots of muted tones of colors and things that are around. Lots of greens. And perhaps, there's even perhaps the odd garden area that's kind of scattered around as well, with actual trees and plants growing in it.
Wow.
Yeah. And it is fancy. And we're heading to like the director's office. We're kind of stopped in like a large reception area, which seems to be filled with men and women who are busy tapping away on terminals of some kind, or perhaps it's a bit more futuristic than that, and they're doing the whole Minority Report bullshit.
Yeah, they've got the glasses. They've got the glasses on, and they're using it's happening.
Yeah, of course. And we approach the secretary of one Ernest Evanson, who is the director of this arm of Rogan Cormier.
Ernest Everson.
Yeah.
Okay. And the secretary, she's looking down. She has her glasses on. And she says, "Yes, that'll be fine. 1,600 hours. Yes. Hello. How can I?
I need to speak with Evanson. He should be expecting me.
Dr. Zimmerman, let me see. He'll see you now.
Thank you. We'll have gone through security checks with our two guests, as it were, and I'll have signed them in.
Yeah,
you've revoked all my access and everything yet, so
no.
As we pass by the secretary, I'll say, and you know what? Bring 5 coffee for us, and then I'll go, no, 4 coffees.
And she says something to that effect.
And I don't mean her. I mean the electronic robot that serves the coffee to the people who have not, clearly it wasn't directed that she should do it. She should send the.
No, he's right. She says something. You hear her talking as you walk on. You hear her relay that order.
Yeah, glad you corrected yourself. You almost made it awkward.
So I
Takes
had
a good mind to be a doctor.
it does.
Does.
I mean, he's not wrong. Yeah, it takes a good mind to be a good doctor.
Yeah.
That's the difference, right? So I'm imagining this kind of this really really large kind of white door that kind of slides open, revealing this extravagant office which has amazing views out across space, I guess, and the planet and the whole operation. And Ernest Evanson is he's quite a short guy. He's kind of middle-aged. He's probably a little bit older than Zimmerman, who's 53 himself. And he's kind of got thinning hair. He looks every bit like a corporate kind of lackey or whatever. Yeah, yeah. And I think as I kind of step into the office and I wait for the doors to close, and I'll be Evanson. We need answers. We need answers.
Hey, well, it's good to see you again. Well, how are you doing? Is everything going well? Are you recovering okay?
Recovering. There's nothing wrong with me. Evanson, you know that?
Yes. Quite. Now, you seem to be in a bit of a fluster.
Something very strange happened in our tower last night.
I fail to see how that's any of our business.
We had a power failure. At least, it was made to look like a power failure. But some men entered the building. They were carrying equipment that was designed by our company.
We sell. You know that. Our equipment is used throughout, even beyond the system.
The equipment that they were carrying is not yet for sale, Evanson.
His face looks at you. What do you mean?
The tubes for the cryogenics program.
Yes?
These men, they were carrying them.
That's impossible. We've not even released schematics to the central repository. It's not the archive doesn't know about them. They're still only on our local systems.
Then somebody from this company was using them. The ships that the men came in on, they were unmarked. They were on orbital paths that are restricted.
That's highly
We're not
irregular.
recorded. Nonetheless, that is what happened. There were reports that some of the residents were missing when the power came back on.
Our technology is under strict guidance and licensing. Even the 7 years of pre-testing hasn't been completed. And he says, "This is highly. Are you absolutely sure?"
This is Galen Malavec. He's a local pilot. His ship has recently been outfitted with equipment from this company. Equipment that is designed to carry and to seat those very same tubes.
It's true.
Show me.
It's taken us a long time to get up here.
Nah, you've got
Yeah.
Wait,
we'll have taken pictures.
Yeah, send me the files.
But we could put the coffee into Go Cups. It's fine.
Just send them to me.
In fact, I've just shown my data pad here, and I just flick the images across to him.
Yeah, right, and it lands, and he stands up, and you see him looking around, and he walks over to a space, and he stretches down, and you tap into what he's seeing, and you can see that he's looking down at the same places that you were looking, investigating.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. And this is your ship. How? What did it used to carry?
Well, previously it had been fitted for mineral extraction and transport.
How long did it take them to remove everything and place this in here?
To the modular design, probably didn't take that long, but the refit only really happened. What?
Where did you get it done?
Recently? Basically called. Being at the Central Aviation Authority, the main hangar would have they arranged all of our transport details.
Nobody has any of the specifications for any of this equipment. It must have been fitted by our very own technicians. And if that's the case, you must know something about it.
We have no contact with the Central Aviation Authorities. They're not one of our contracts.
Perhaps an audit of the equipment that you have produced and have in stock for testing is in order.
This is Rafe Garua. He also has a story to tell. It seems people are going missing.
One of the patients at my hospital that I'm interning at, I could find no trace of him in the systems, but clearly he did exist. This tag belonged to somebody.
What's going on? You know something, Evanson, I'm sure of it.
He looks, and you see through his visor that he's accessing the company admin type interface, and he's ordered a audit of the stock and inventory that's passed in and out of the labs, and he says nothing's been signed out, but we were visited by someone from the Central Aviation Authority. And he flicks back on 6 occasions, spanning back as much as a year and a half.
What would they be doing here? Purchasing equipment?
No, we have no contracts with them. He flicks through. The contact at the Aviation Authority. Dr. Labore. He's a ex-military. He used to work for one of the... Oh. And he looks he looks a bit concerned. He used to be in one of the rector's personal security detail. The rest of it is blank.
The director?
The rector. The rector. The rector.
The rector. The prefect.
Yeah, one of the kind of immediate subordinates of the head honcho.
The prefect guy, yeah.
The prefect being the
top,
the very top brass, but the rectors being the kind of next-ish kind of senior types. Generally out of the limelight, getting on with the work. Just you know, you don't tend to see them. They don't make a big deal. They don't get a lot of press. They're not there to be the face of anything. They're just there to get stuff done and make things happen.
Would he have access to our research? The rector, that is. If he requested it.
If he requested it, he'd have access. Of course he would.
Would there be a record of a request like that?
That's above my pay grade.
Who would know? There's something terrible happening here. People are missing, my wife included.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I'll put in a request. Perhaps you could talk. Perhaps you could go to the Central Aviation Authority. Maybe you could.
Dr. Abore.
You find perhaps he would be able to answer your questions. I doubt he will. He's probably under strict security protocols. Nevertheless, if you wanted to find out, and I will make my inquiries here, keep your channels open. I will get back in touch as soon as I hear anything. You look after yourself. You take on too much. And
Thank
we need
you for your
back.
help.
What a great guy to be working for. Tell me, these units that you say that are in inventory and not lost, are they serialized in any way? Are they marked or engraved so that you can keep track of them?
Are you asking me or are you asking him?
Oh, I don't know if we've left the doc.
Yeah, I'd assumed you left. Yeah.
Yes, it's my character asking your character if there's a way maybe we can like trace them.
That's a good point.
Because I think you would still have access.
Yeah. Yeah, and whether there'd actually be kind of serial numbers on any of the equipment, or whether if they've been manufactured elsewhere, they may not be. They may just kept all of that stuff just so people can't do what we're trying to do, I guess. But
yeah, you have ways of protecting your corporate technology, but then again, you don't.
But if this is nothing to do with the corporation, though, if they've somebody has basically just taken their research and built their own devices, it's unlikely that the manufacturer put any kind of markings on the equipment so we could trace them. Oh, would there?
Well,
is it time to add some risk?
We still have the drug that I don't know. We ever mentioned that, did we?
No, we didn't. We didn't mention the fact that I just figured it's all part of the research.
Somewhere. But it gives us something to track as well.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Strep
If you gave Galen whether you could actually check manifests for the company you work for and find out if any of this stuff is being shipped out and where?
You're avoiding rolling text.
Me?
I may be able to check the
oh, that's a good
records
point.
in the hospital.
Yeah.
The hospital records might be cool.
Those
Yeah.
drugs, yes. When was the last shipment? How much? Usage?
And did anyone collect take whatever the hospital had?
Or has it been requisitioned and
Yeah, reallocated
moved to
somewhere
another?
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hospital.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a cool idea.
Well, that's easy done. You have access, limited access, into the hospital. Who's going first? Then who's making their
We
inquiries
start with
first?
the hospital. That's probably the better lead for the medical
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. So at this point, Rufi, you take out your visor, your your eyepiece, your set, whatever you have as a student, whatever your student faculty support stipend allows you to afford. Ain't as swish as the stuff that you've been seeing so far. It's maybe older models, but
You'd be
you pick it up.
surprised. My parents would do anything for my medical career. They will spare no expense to make sure I have the best of the best. I must become a doctor.
That's what they told you. Anyway.
Yeah. So you pick out your headset and it forms around, and you see it projecting like the university of what university do you go to? Did you mention it? I don't think you've mentioned it.
Mentioned
Yeah,
Okay.
the hospital is it's the Voltanis Teaching Hospital of Care and Education, so VTOC,
BTOC,
short.
yes.
and probably I'd be going to the University of Voltanis.
Yeah. So you key into their sort of first part, and you drill down in through to the entry that there is for this striptazine, and you make an initial inquiry. It tells you striptazine is used in treating patients who have serious anxiety or problems with their being. It goes kind of through the medical treatment, and you're just like, yeah, you know that, you're a good student, you know all that. Yeah. It's manufactured in one of the rings. It's manufactured by Rogan Cormier, of course, and it's one of their facilities in the Southern Hemisphere. There's a note that says limit prescription, problems at factory.
Supply.
Yeah, problems with supply. Only for it's prescribed only to the most severe of cases.
I'd like to cross-reference with the actual supply at the university, if there is a record.
Yeah. So you go into the local supply, and there are 3 cases available, which is odd because normally you would expect anything like this to have potentially hundreds.
Then the last thing I'd like to see was there a transfer of stock recently of existing cases that were in there to another facility that might have needed them more, as hospitals may do when one needs more drugs.
Yeah.
Certain type.
Yeah. So it there was a transfer a sizable transfer, and then a hold placed on new supplies coming in about 6 months ago. And the transfer was to the
Sector 4 medical facility?
Yeah, Sector 4 institutional research and development medical facility. So you're looking at that, and you're looking at this place, and you look at them, and it's like, well, that's the Tanya Elsie medical trust, funded based on a philanthropist who had donated a huge amount of money on her death and her will, and she'd left this massive bequest to further science and medical research, and it it to be relatively prestigious, and it's typically recruits the best of the best within the sector. You've maybe heard of it. Some of your peers who have tried to maybe submit for an internship there, but haven't been successful. And you also know that it attracts off-worlders as well, such as its prestige. So yeah, it's like a medical trust and science, medical research fraternity type place.
Perhaps I should request from my supervisor to get my internship transferred there. It might be interesting. I mean, Adam would miss me because he probably wouldn't get in, but I've been dealing a lot with.
But he should be there with you in spirit.
Ecological patients. Might be useful to have somebody inside there.
Perhaps. It's a lot of septrazine that's being diverted there. They have a spate of anxiety attacks or something? Like an epidemic?
Yeah, it's quite unlikely.
Precisely.
I guess it's probably a distribution hub or a processing center of some sort.
Well, it is a research facility.
There's probably no way that we could get in there.
We could if
Unless...
we had somebody who was anxious.
You think? There's still a few cases at VTOC.
Maybe I could suggest having one of my patients from VTOC transferred there, and then I transferred as well as an attending intern.
Could try.
I think I should collect more information about the research being done by that medical trust, and then make the recommendation to my supervisor for a specific patient. If the patient is still there by the time my next rounds are.
Yeah.
There is also the production facility for septrazine. The Rogan Cormier arm.
Well, we certainly don't believe that they're having trouble with manufacture of it. I think it's safe to assume that the manufacture is just fine. That it's just being diverted or being withheld from the population for a certain reason. Perhaps somebody doesn't want this type of anxiety to be treated properly.
Or they're preparing to get a lot of people into cold storage. A lot of people.
We're gonna have to find out.
Yeah, and so I think it's a good place to end. The scene to close is the grey ships flying, or rather docked, at the Tanya Elsie Medical Trust, and they're the opposite of what you saw at your apartment, where the items are being wheeled, or rather hovered gravitationally so into a wing of the facility, and we'll pick up with your investigations in next week.
It is next week. Yeah.
Next Friday.